Chapter 13.
Upon retreating to his bed and securing himself inside with a spell, Draco suddenly recalled his innocence. He had truly committed the crime in the way he seemed to have, fleeing suspiciously from the scene like that. If the rumor mill turned its focus back to Potter, just as quickly as before, people might think otherwise. Yet his guilt lay in failing, in knowing the disaster loomed, believing he had mended it, only to find the ominous message still defiant on the wall. Gone were the times when he had exulted in those words. Now, a chill of fear rippled through like a phantom spell cast from his imagination, haunted by visions of Hermione frozen in terror, or worse. And should he lose her, he would deserve it. At the revelation back in the initial blue loop, he had been elated. He had laughed, and so losing her. If anyone else, even Dumbledore, were charged with destroying the diary, Draco would have doubted them. But it was Severus. To question Severus was to question everything Draco believed. He already felt petrified within, as much as that wretched cat. Was it a mistake all along to tie the chamber to the diary, just because of its trail from the manor to Ginny Weasley? He silenced any sounds emanating from outside with his wand. If the professors were searching for him, either suspecting him as the culprit or knowing he had secrets untold, they have to confront him directly. He welcomed the thought of them breaking through his spells, or bursting through by force. Sleep evaded him, his mind a whirl of speculation about Potter's thoughts as he watched Draco flee. He awoke later than anticipated, the absence of noise preventing his timely return to consciousness. His dramatic entrance to breakfast attracted attention in the Great Hall, as conversations faded into hushed whispers. They resumed soon enough, though, leaving Draco with the impression of being just one among many suspects, not yet deemed guilty by public scrutiny. Yet countless eyes studied him, seeking to unmask his secrets. Lowering his head to his meal, Draco hurried through breakfast, while vowing to avoid this communal dining if such staring persisted, even if it would cast him in a shady light. He could justify dining in the kitchen with the house elves, monitoring Dobby's absence, although reason insisted it was time to acknowledge Dobby would not return. "How did you manage it?" Blaise inquired softly, just as Pansy asked, "Why single out Filch? His cat? Is it because of that talk of him being a squib?" "You're the heir of Slytherin, right?" Theo whispered in alignment. "It wasn't me." The infamous rule about speaking ill of Draco Malfoy might deter people from offending him outright, but it did little when peers like his fellow Slytherins regarded their suspicions as flattery. Nor did it halt the curious gazes tracking his every move. Why did he even bother checking the library briefly when it was clear he wouldn't encounter Gryffindors there? The knowledge of his presence made him an easy target for stares curious if he was the feline attacker. Curiously enough, Filch had yet to confront him. Draco heard that Filch lingered endlessly around the assaulted spot, pacing like he expected another strike, and continually scrubbing at the offending message with Mrs. Scour's all-purpose magical mess remover. But as Draco had covertly observed, it left the Chamber of Secrets has been opened untouched, brazenly prophesizing doom. Draco's attempt to alter events had only complicated predictions. But Filch's absence struck Draco. Perhaps Filch didn't suspect him as much, or maybe didn't dare confront a second-year student. Draco's stay in the library was brief. Post-classes, he sought refuge in the kitchen with the house elves, penning his history of magic essay as their chatter formed a comforting backdrop. Quidditch practice felt unusually strained, yet teammates hadn't exactly been warm previously. Post-practice, beneath the bleachers, he sat, finishing an occlumency text, aimlessly testing spells, attempting to rationalize the recurrence of events akin to the blue loop. Was it Severus's deceit in diary destruction, an unrecognized failure on his part, or a misjudgment in recognizing the diary's connection at Malfoy Manor? Or could it be that the diary wasn't the true catalyst of the chamber's reopening? Of these, Draco leaned towards the latter explanations. His incompetence seemed more feasible than deceit or incompetence on Severus's part. Visualizing Severus as the perpetrator, manipulated into executing a hunting charade by the diary, nearly made Draco chuckle, picturing Severus in his sweeping robes scaring Mrs. Norris. Yet, he trusted Severus's expertise too much to believe he'd merely petrify that life-sized piece of taxidermy. After extensive flying, Draco realized it was late, with Ron still absent. Avoiding the Gryffindors became second nature, especially with meals no longer in shared spaces, yet it remained unclear who evaded whom. Draco never thought they'd point the finger at him as the culprit, especially not Hermione. But there was a chance they had picked up on his insider knowledge, and his failure to alert them or intervene. He had overestimated them. The moment he saw them in potions class that Wednesday, the truth hit him. Draco's charmed note, meant to secretly reach Hermione during their potion crafting, was intercepted by Severus. Unlike his usual practice of reading intercepted notes aloud, Severus silently turned to Draco. His expression spoke volumes of his disdain for its contents. The message read, "Hermione, meet me after classes today. Bring any defenses you see fit. I need to explain something urgent." Perhaps Severus was offended by Draco allying with Gryffindors about the chamber issue before consulting him, a fellow Slytherin. Yet, Severus wasn't easily duped, and deep down, Draco wondered if Severus had ever eliminated the diary to begin with. If only he'd been brave enough to witness the liquid fiendfire. Instead, Draco sought refuge in the Ollery to send a similar message to the Gryffindors for a meeting after dinner. He requested to see them in the trophy room, hoping it wouldn't be mistaken as a duel challenge. If misjudged, he would rue not inviting Neville Longbottom as a second. Draco's nerves refused his attempts at humor as he awaited Potter and his friends. When the door creaked open and Potter entered alone, Draco felt his spirits lift and then plummet. "Where are Ron and Hermione?" he asked, unable to mask his disappointment, knowing it wasn't the best way to endear himself to Potter. "Hermione's buried in books," Potter replied, in a surprisingly neutral tone. "Ron's giving her a hand. She's been researching non-stop since Halloween." "Funny, haven't seen her in the library," Draco murmured. "Not like you've been a fixture there either," Potter shot back, a point Draco had to concede. Still, he doubted Potter would sympathize with his discomfort of being under scrutiny, considering Potter was ogled on reputation alone. "So, what you been digging up?" Draco pressed, regretting that he sounded impatient, much like an uninspired version of Potter. The answer, almost predictably, was the Chamber of Secrets. "She believes it's real." "It probably is," Draco conceded. "What did she uncover?" Potter shrugged, now inspecting the trophy room. "Mostly what Binns relayed in class," Potter said, his focus drifting among the oldest awards. An ancient tale of Salazar Slytherin leaving a hidden chamber with a beast within, to be unveiled by his true heir to cleanse the school of those deemed unworthy. Hermione managed to get Binns talking about it in History of Magic, though he insisted it was folklore, even if your forebear might have. "Hold on. What do you mean, my forebear?" Potter paused, leaning against a prominent Slytherin cup while crossing his arms defensively. "Draco," he began, his voice tinged with disbelief. "Everyone heard it. Your father's howler accused you of tainting Slytherin's legacy." "You're kidding," Draco blurted, suddenly understanding the suspicions surrounding him. "It's not true, Potter. Hermione can attest. She's seen the Manor's portraits. My father just likes the prestige it gives him. Plenty have made such claims over the years among our circle, but I have no Slytherin blood, Potter. I'm no heir." Before Draco could continue, Potter interjected. "On our way here, we passed messages written on the walls and spotted spiders heading upwards. Following them led us to Moaning Myrtle's washroom. We asked if she'd seen anything suspicious, and she mentioned talking to you, describing you almost perfectly. It seemed like you were distracting her. Maybe we should have alerted the professors, but we wanted to hear you out first." "Potter," Draco replied, his throat tight with emotion, "do you honestly think I could? Why were you engaging that ghost? Why did you flee that night? Potter's questions were direct. Draco struggled to find a reasonable explanation for the ghostly encounter, and as for his escape, he had little to offer. Potter, the circumstances look damning, I know, but people think you're behind it too, don't they? Potter nodded slightly. If they knew what the chamber truly meant, they'd never suspect us because we wouldn't harm Hermione. I wouldn't. Potter, even though I've treated you poorly, understand this, Hermione. Hermione? Potter echoed, perplexed. Draco felt a newfound worry for the wizarding world's fate if it relied on such oblivious individuals as Potter and perhaps himself. Did Binns fail to clarify? Draco asked urgently. She's Muggle-born, prime target for Slytherin's monstrosity. Were I in control, I'd be racing to seal the chamber, not pry it open. Draco, you realize this appears damning, right? Potter groaned, rubbing his wearied eyes. Draco took a tentative step forward, hands raised peacefully, ever aware of the volatile charge between him and Potter. Absolutely terrible. With all this stuff about the diary, you claim it was ruined because of Snape, and you insist you're not the heir of Slytherin, yet that wand selected you. We're not accusing you of any intentional wrongdoing, but Hermione believes that the dark arts can manipulate you without your awareness. Are you absolutely certain that there's nothing amiss with that wand?
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this chapter, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell to stay updated with more audiobooks. Happy listening!